Good evening.
Very good. So welcome once again to INEAS. Welcome to our prayer meeting. And basically for this time, we are actually in the series of Mission Impossible. So imagine I'm the pretty lady in the movie Mission Impossible. And basically we are actually on the third session of the series. So we started since last February on the 16th of Feb, where we started with what on earth am I here for, and on the 2nd of March we have the second session. So since there are a lot of newcomers, I would like to spend a bit of time to do a bit of recap so that everyone know what we discussed before, because what I'll share today will be linked related to what has been shared before. So, anyone remember what was shared, or who actually shared the teaching on the first section? Toby. Okay, yes, correct. So this is Toby. Yeah. So basically in this session, I should have not shown first. So anyone remember? Anyone remember what was the key message that Toby shared?
Co-redeemer.
Yes. So what is co-redeemer?
Redeem together.
Anyone has better answer? Anyone else? Anyone remember what Toby shared, or just one thing that you remember for those who came?
I remember, but I don't want to spoil it now.
Yeah. We share the suffering. Share the suffering of Christ. That's why we co-redeem, like what Toby shared. So basically, Toby shared about our identity as children of God, and that identity actually intertwined with our mission of why God created us. So that's why the title for his talk was "What on earth am I here for?" And actually, the answer is because God wants to create us on earth to be His co-redeemer, to share His love to other people who may not know Him. Yeah, so that's one of the identity. One of the key messages He shared, and as part of the action is for us to accept our identity. Yeah, because we may not in the stage where we recognize that we are children of God, we are His special children, and so we need to start by accepting our identity. How about the second session? Who gave the talk? Fina. Okay, so what did Fina share?
Next.
No! Now I'm smarter, yeah. Anyone want to share? Except Fina?
We are called to be saved.
We are called to be sane. Anyone else?
Holy and loving.
Holy and loving. Very good. So that's Fina.
Oh.
Yeah. So in the second session, she talked about how from our identity as children of God, we are actually created in His image, because God is holy and love. So therefore, we are also called to be holy and loving, just like all the saints. So we are actually have this calling to be a saint. And in terms of our, sometimes we ask, right, what is my mission in life? What's my purpose? And sometimes we struggle with like, oh, am I called to be engineer, or am I called to be, I don't know, marketing like me, or I'm called to be scientist? But actually, all these are jobs, all these are career that eventually are just the means for us to reach our destination, which is what God created us to be, which is saints. So Fina also shared another thing that is really interesting, where each of us, because we are all created differently, so each of us has unique purpose, and she shared how actually she discovered her unique purpose in what she's doing now. Anyone remember? What were some of the things that she shared? Do you remember or not? No? So she shared that some of the ways where we can identify our purpose is first look into areas of the things that we are passionate about. Like look into our lives, what are the things that drive us or motivate us even when it's difficult, even when it's tiring, what are the things that actually when we reflect, oh yeah, actually I like to do that even though it's challenging. So that's one thing. The second one was to identify our gifts. Each of us are created with different gifts from God, and we did some exercise. So everyone has, most of you I believe have done the exercise, and if you have not done so, you can contact Trina for the handouts as well, so that it can help you to find out what is actually the gifts that you have at the moment, and actually what else that God could reveal to you in the future. And the third one, which I really like a lot, is about observing the need around us. And sometimes God can appoint a mission to us through the surrounding, through our environment, where we observe the need. And that could be an area where God is calling us to share His love to others. Yeah. So from there, actually, now we come to the third session, which is the Agent of Christ, because we are in the series of Mission I'm Possible, which is borrowing the Mission I'm Possible. So we also want to learn how we can be not the agent to hunt for the criminals, but really an agent of how we can actually share God's love, to be His co-redeemer, and to not just be saints at the end of our life, but to be saints every day of our life, share that love and be holy in our day-to-day. Yeah. And before we start, I would like to invite you to read together this story from the Bible about a young boy, which is this one. Anyone can guess who is this? Who? Moses. Okay, good try, but not. Who else? He was on the bed. So that's a cue. Yeah. The hint is he was on the bed and sleeping. Samuel, yes, that's right. So let's read together this story, and because this story really spoke to me also on how actually we carry out his mission and how he also discovered his mission in his life. So before we start, let's just quieten down our hearts to prepare to read the Word of God, and later on, we can go one round where each person can share one verse. Yeah. God, Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time where we can go back to your words and inspire us, O Lord, with your Spirit, so that we will be able to recognize the message that you want us to remember from the passage. And may the words burn our hearts with passion again as we recognize your presence. Amen. Okay. So maybe we start from Kevin. Each person to share one verse.
During the time, young Samuel was minister to the Lord under Eli. The word of the Lord was harsh and vision infrequent.
One day, Eli was asleep in his usual place. His eyes had lately grown so weak that he could not see.
The Lamb of God was not yet extinguished, and Samuel was living in the temple of the Lord where the ark of God was.
The Lord called to Samuel, who answered, "Here I am."
You have good and said, "Here I am, you called me." I did not call you. I answered, "Go back to sleep." So he went back to sleep.
Again, the Lord called Samuel, who rose and went to Eli. "Here I am," he said. "You called me." But he answered, "I did not call you, my son. Go back to sleep." Samuel did not yet recognize Eli, seeing the word of the Lord had not yet been revealed to him.
The Lord called Samuel again for the third time. Getting up and going to Eli, he said, "Here I am, you called me." Then Eli understood that the Lord was calling the youth.
So he said to Samuel, "Go to sleep, and if you are called, reply, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening.'" When Samuel went to sleep in his place,
the Lord came and stood there, calling out as before, "Samuel, Samuel." Samuel answered, "Speak, for your servant is listening."
The Lord said to Samuel, "I'm about to do something in Israel that will make the ears of everyone who hears it ring."
On that day I will carry out against Eli everything I have said about his house, beginning to the end.
I announced to him that I am condemning his house once and for all because of his crime.
Though he knew his sons were blaspheming God, he did not reprove them.
Therefore I swear to Eli's house, no sacrifice or offering will ever expire its crime.
Samuel then slept until morning. When he got up early and opened the doors of the temple of the Lord, he was afraid to tell Eli the vision.
But Eli called to him, Samuel, my son. He replied, Here I am.
Then Eli asked, What did he say to you? Hide nothing from me. May God do thus to you. And more, if you hide from me a single thing he told you.
So Samuel told him everything and held nothing back. Eli answered, It is the Lord. What is pleasing the Lord's sight, the Lord will do.
Word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Familiar passage? Was anyone familiar with the second part? Okay. Later we'll go through. So going back to the first part, does anyone know who is Samuel? Eli's boy. Wow. Sounds so wrong. Who is Samuel?
The son of God.
Son of Hannah. Okay, that's correct. And what happened? Do you know any interesting thing about how Samuel was born? Yeah. No? Yeah. So basically, Samuel was born from really strong prayer from Hannah. So Hannah is supposed to be a barren woman, and she has tried a lot to give birth, but she couldn't until she really was desperate. She prayed in the temple. She prayed to God, and that's actually where she met Eli. Who is Eli? What did he do in the temple actually? Priest. Yes. So that's where Hannah met Eli, and because after that, cut the story short, Samuel. Like God grant the prayer of Hannah, and after that Samuel was born. And with this joyful heart, actually, Hannah and the husband decided that okay, once he is grown up a little bit, they will dedicate Samuel to the Lord by letting him to serve in the temple and to be raised by Eli. So Eli is like the priest who take care of Samuel in the temple. And the interesting part is also like when Samuel served in the temple, actually he started like with a very simple thing, like opening the door of tabernacle, maybe like altar boy, no, I don't know, yeah, but he did very light assignments from Eli and just helping out. And on that day, basically this young Samuel was asleep, and also Eli was also asleep, and Eli is much older, of course, because he's already the priest. And what happened after that is, so Samuel was sleeping in the temple of the Lord where the ark of God was, and then the Lord called to Samuel, "Here I am." And then Samuel didn't know that it's from the Lord. He actually ran to Eli, the person that he is familiar with, and thought that it's him. "Here I am, you called me." "I did not call you," Eli answered. "Go back to sleep." And so he went back to sleep. And then the Lord called Samuel again, who rose and went to Eli. "Here I am, you called me." And then again Eli answered, "I did not call you, my son, go back to sleep." And then the next part, Samuel did not recognize the Lord, and what happened is, for the third time, the Lord called Samuel again. Getting up, he said, "Here I am, you called me." And after that, Eli understood that there must be something strange. That it must be a greater power that I don't know. That means it's the Lord. So after that, he tells Samuel, "Go to sleep, and if you are called, say, speak Lord, for your servant is listening." And if you imagine yourself being Samuel, you hear someone calling you one time, "Samuel, Samuel," And then after that you woke up, like imagine you're on your bed at home in your HDB or whatever, and then like, Devi, Devi. And then after that, what did you do? Yeah, so imagine you thought like, oh, it's your housemate maybe calling you, and then you go to your housemate, hey, Bonnie, are you calling me? No lah, Devi, go back to sleep. And then second time, happen again, and third time, how would you feel, Devi?
Irritated or I feel confused.
I feel confused. How about Tina, what would you feel if there's someone calling you 3 times when you were sleeping, and then the person that you thought is calling you is actually saying, go back to sleep? I will freak out. Freak out, okay. Yeah, so, confusion, freaking out, all these feelings. But what happened after Eli told him that if you are called, speak Lord, for your servant is listening. And then he went back to sleep, and he did exactly what Eli shared. And then after that, the Lord continued that conversation. And we realized actually, this line is actually the answer to it. Samuel did not recognize the Lord. And this is really the time when he don't know that it is God. He wasn't familiar yet that that's the voice of God. And as a result, he felt confused. He may feel freaking out. Or maybe if it's Tina, she will scream like, who is this? Yeah, but that's really, like sometimes in our life when we are not so familiar with God, that's where oftentimes we feel confused. And I even experienced it myself where sometimes, last time I used to be more confused, like really don't know what God is calling us. And maybe that's so why times when we are confused, is it because we don't know yet the Lord. But it was through Eli, that who is more mature, already becoming a priest, more knowledgeable and more in the relationship with God. That's when he actually gave that clue to Samuel. And so the interesting part is after Samuel know and recognize it, he said to the Lord, speak, for your servant is listening. And that's where God then revealed his plan to Samuel. Now, what happened next? And actually, this is actually the whole chunk that I personally wasn't aware before, because in a lot of passages, or even in every of our prayer meeting, we always say, yes, speak Lord, for your servant is listening. But what's actually happening in the story? And it says that the Lord told Samuel, on that day I will carry out against Eli everything I have said about his house, beginning to the end. I announced to him that I am condemning his house, Eli's house, once and for all because of the crime, though he knew his sons were blaspheming God. So what happened is actually Eli is a very good man, a very good priest, but he has 2 sons who are very wicked. Yeah, so the 2 sons actually, both of them actually committed adultery and even taking advantage of like, Eli is a priest, and then they actually steal the meat offerings that is brought to the temple. And before this passage happened, actually there are already, like God already spoke through other people to Eli that God is unhappy, but Eli wasn't able to correct the son. Eli was like already tell the son, oh, please don't do that, but eventually Eli decided to tolerate them, and that's what God is not happy, because that's actually sins that they committed seriously. And after that, the Lord swears to Eli, no sacrifice or offering will ever expiate this crime. And then after that, Samuel go back to sleep. Now, imagining again ourselves being Samuel, we didn't know that God was speaking to me, and then now I have a clue. Yes, it's actually the Lord speaking to me. And suddenly the Lord say something so scary like this. Like imagine, go back to Devi again. So imagine suddenly the Lord says, actually your house is going to be condemned, and we will burn everything. Yeah. So you feel as Samuel when suddenly someone says something really serious and really worrying about Eli, whom he respects a lot, whom he also loves because Eli has taken care of him? How would you feel?
Scared, confused, afraid. What will Eli react? You know, like will he scold me, say I'm Xiao, you know, like this.
Yeah, so scary. Yeah, and I would think that's also really scary to know that, oh God, why you tell this to me? Can you tell to someone else? So no need to be me. I don't need to know. And that's why also he was afraid to tell Eli the vision. But eventually he decided to say it as Eli was also asking him. And when I reflect on this, I realized that, you know, like sometimes we are asking God for mission. Like, God, what's my mission? God, tell me what to do. God, what's my purpose? And once God tell it to us, we become, Lord, maybe better don't tell. I'm happy where I am. And that's also where, from the previous teaching series, I was asking like, what it is that you're calling me? And then we know that, oh, we are called to be saints, holy and loving. And just like how it's really difficult mission that God put in Samuel, any mission from God can also be very difficult, and it's not easy to carry out what God wants to call us to do. Even for me to be faithful in my job, it's really challenging to be able to always share love with others, but my work is piling up. To still smile when I feel so tired, it's really difficult to share that love all the time. And that's actually why God give us the community so that we can actually have companion in this journey to achieve our destination that God has created us to be. And I realized that it is actually through community, through the people around us who share the same faith, that's where we can find the strength to journey together towards that same goal for holiness, just like what God is calling us to be. And you guys watch Mission Impossible All Out? How many? Who is the main character?
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, yeah, handsome. Okay. What is his name in the character?
Ethan Hunt.
Ethan Hunt, yes. Ethan Hunt, right? So actually, if you notice, he wasn't alone. Yes, and he has this friend called Benji, which actually is my favorite character after Tom Cruise because he's so funny. And what did Benji do, if any of you remember? Tech support. And actually during the movie, what is so interesting is while Agent Hunt, which is the main character, was like in the forefront to fight with the bad person, this Benji actually walk behind the scene, do all the IT stuff to make sure they can open the lock, they can go into the secret place, and even stop the bomb and etc. So so he has this friend that actually, when I look back, imagine if Agent Hunt doesn't have Benji, he would be alone and maybe he would die before Fallout come out, you know, because the challenge was so difficult. And it was actually not even one Benji. There's another guy with the head and others, yeah. So that's actually where I realized that, you know, as we fulfill God's calling for us to be saints, to be holy and loving, to be His witnesses of love, to be His co-redeemer, we need that companion so that we can share in the same passion. And I realized that, you know, like in here, that's where we can actually meet people who are in a way friendlier than people outside sometimes. And people who understand about forgiveness, about love, and even though we are all different character, I think we all can testify how sometimes we are taught to learn how to love one another in this community before we go out there. And Jesus said in Matthew that you know, like God will send us like sheep among the wolves, and the wolves is really outside there, where we meet people who don't believe in God, where we meet people who pursue other things and not holiness, pursue money and power and ego, just want to enjoy life and not to sainthood. So through this journey of companion with our brothers and sisters here, that's actually where God wants us to be together to for that mission. And as I shared, this is also where we are trained to love one another and to remember also to do what God is calling us. And I think in this time of Lent season, for example, I think it's really the time where, you know, even for me, when every Friday, it's often a challenge to like stay, okay, don't eat meat, but the rest are like, ooh, feasting in. and my colleagues always call it fast food Friday, 3 triple F, and I'm like, I cannot eat fast food today. And they bought KFC, you know, but as I remember, I have my other friends in the community who yeah, eat the potato. Yeah, and I have to buy vegetarian stall, but as I remember, the friends that I have outside, like you guys, okay, we are doing this together, and especially last time when we have that reminder, guys, don't forget to abstain, it gives me that strength, okay, don't give up and persevere. So I think that's really how we also want to realize that community is really a place that God gives us to train ourselves to love and eventually to become saints. Yeah. And another thing that I learned also why community, it's also because this is also the place where we can also train ourselves to discover as well as develop gifts. And when I realized long ago when I started journeying with the NTU Charismatic Prayer Group, I didn't start with a lot of gifts, yeah. So I think if I did Venus quiz at that time, I think I will like don't know what to answer. But actually, as I just joined with the heart to be there, to be present, and to share love with others, and I was called to be like, can you help out as worship leader? And I was scared, I was anxious, I don't know how to sing, and eventually I realized, actually, I can do something worthwhile. Okay, my voice is not bad. And along the way, as I continue to be faithful, actually God helped me to improve and even become better and bear fruit. So I believe each of us, especially those who have journeyed in community for some time, maybe you can also reflect like how God has actually transformed us over time as we stay faithful to say yes to Him, and how much gift that actually God give us only along the way as we give our availability to Him. And so that's why really community is important. And if we look back into the story of Samuel started as a young boy, and I don't think he recognized what are his gifts. He was just opening the door of tabernacle every day in the temple at that time. But actually, if we fast forward, Samuel was actually a great prophet. He became the judge of Israel. He was the one to anoint King Saul, anoint King David, and eventually change the overall structure of Israel at that time. So how much God can also work as he had that desire to say yes and trust in God, and his obedience that eventually bring him into discovering what is actually his mission, eventually his unique purpose, which is to be a prophet and be the judge in Israel. Yeah. And maybe we also ask okay, in community, what can I do? What is it, God, that you are looking out, that you want me to do in this community? There are many things, but I'm not really sure. But to me, I realized that in community, there are actually a lot of harvest that is plentiful, and laborers are few. So no need to search, the mission will come to you actually. Yeah, there will be a lot, and you can just come to Pina and she will have a long list. No, I'm kidding. Yeah,
miss condoms.
Yeah, many pages. Yeah, so and for me also last time I realized that I look into what are feasible, you know, like in terms of what mission, like how can God use me to share His love. I thought there are only these few ways, like oh maybe either do teaching like what I'm doing now, or worship like Irene just now, or like logistics like Ronald, or like leadership become coordinator like Vina, or evangelize like reach out, go outside, find people, and oh no Lord, I think I cannot do all of those. So scary, so difficult. But actually along the way I realized that there are many other ways that God can appoint a mission to us in the community, through the community. And it could be things like recognizing the need of sharing hospitality to other people in the community. Or it could be about sharing words of encouragement to people in need. Or it could also be about prayer, sharing prayer for those who are struggling and in need of God's grace. Or it can also be about like as simple as being present in the community to motivate one another, to be in companion with each other. So the harvests are actually plentiful, and there are many ways where God can actually want to use us to be His co-redeemer, to share His love, to be His witness through this community. And how then can we carry out that mission? Yeah? So I just want to share this video that really struck me about how actually, after knowing why mission is important, why community is important as a training ground, as a beginning for us to learn to be more loving, how are we supposed to carry that out? And I want to share this video, and hopefully the audio works. Maybe I did on the sound. Yeah, that's my good friend. Okay, we try. I think this is our Benji. Benji. Maybe your phone, your computer on. Yeah. Did you mute your computer?
Under vision field.
Shut down.
See, we have Benji and the other one was the other name.
Andre.
Andre. Agent Andre.
Just bring the laptop to front so that we can listen to the
Oh, because
sound.
we are using HDMI. But
Yeah, I know. So, I mean, like take out from the projector so that we can just see small screen but can hear the voice.
Dia mau itu sini.
Oke, itu jadi. Oke, itu jadi.
Small put on the
Come, bring here.
Just bring the laptop.
Oh, wait,
Take out from
Kita one more time.
try, we try first.
Oh.
Has it been? Yeah, I think it's not moving.
Fast forward, fast forward.
Oh, masih mau video aja.
Wait.
You don't have the video, Irma. Don't have the video.
Not in his laptop. you at this.
God who's your prayer life. You go to prayer, say, God, what's your vision for my life? He doesn't seem to answer immediately. Why don't you know how God's vision for my life is? I would tell you what God's vision for their life is right now. Forward to be a saint.
Is it better if we just use the laptop?
There are many things in life that are tragic, many things in life that are sad and sorrowful and can bear to be mourned. But the real tragedy is to get to the end of it.
Use the phone.
I use the phone now.
Maybe the font better.
Can use the phone.
Nobody bring the projector.
So this Father Mike actually was sharing about like tips for those who have no clarity about their vocation. So actually he mentioned about there are actually one thing that God is calling us to be, which he will actually say in 4 words, which is to be a saint. Yeah? So it's the same as what Fina shared before, but what it means to be a saint? Is it about us going to prayer for 30 hours or fasting for the whole night and it will make us saint? So let's see whether we can hear.
Okay.
Oh, the projector is not working.
Wait, yeah.
I can inform on the
Takes time.
internet. What is the title of the?
No, actually.
I found the video already. It's just that the projector not working.
I think need to just click.
Hard reset.
They connect to
It's
this one.
blinking. It's blinking.
Blinking.
Entertain us, Irma.
Yeah, that's my mission. To be present with each other. Using video again. Yeah, so we really need some calls. Otherwise, it's okay. Yeah, I can also share and I can share a video link afterwards. Just help to get back the slides.
Here. Can you turn on the projector?
Turn off the lights first, the electricity.
So basically, the thing that he shared, what it means to be a saint is actually a saint is someone who never stops saying yes to God. Yeah, so a saint is someone who always say yes when God calls him or her to follow him, to do his will. And so that is really the key message. And why it struck me, because to be a saint, it doesn't mean like we are doing many things. We do all the whole list that Fina did in Ineas, but it's really how we can, through our everyday life, say yes to where God is calling us to be. And sometimes for me, like serving in community or even sharing love to others, it's always an up and down. And there are times when I was about 3 years ago, when I was called to be core team in Ineas, I actually felt really dry, like if I go by Fina's tips, right, to find areas of passion, that's definitely no, like, oh, I really don't feel passion anymore. After doing teaching and worship leading for 4 years, actually, or maybe more, 4 or 5, about 5 or 6 years. That's where like the excitement just disappeared, and I felt like, why did I become so excited? And when I was looking at my old photos, it's like, oh, that's the young Irma. And I realized I've grown much older after that, and like I didn't find that excitement again. And I was questioning to God, like, okay, God, this is somehow I'm not feeling passionate. I know my gifts is there, but I feel like I'm not bearing fruit anymore because I feel not motivated. But I realized that what happened, I still see that the community needs help. And so in going through the list, the give and the observe need still kind of disturbed me. And as I continue to pray, I realized that if, let's say, I go with my own will, I really like, I don't want already enough, yeah, don't go anymore, yeah, I have a lot of work to do. But I realized God really works in an interesting way, like aside from showing me the need of the community, like where we need more manpower, need people, but also He made my husband to be in the core team and coordinator. So I realized like, okay, I think I need to be there and help out. So I started with like that kind of feeling, and I also didn't become like teaching or worship at that time. So I just, okay, whichever you need, you just put me, because I had that struggle in my feeling of what is my passion anymore. So I was put as a family ministry to just invite people, welcome other people, and it was really a struggle at first, and I felt a lot of times I just want to like, Toby, I think let's not do it anymore. and I think I have a lot of work to do. I need time to balance my life. But actually, as I reflect again and brought that to prayer, I realized that if I am to make that decision to stop doing or to quit, then it's really like I have this sense that I know that God doesn't want me to do it, and instead if I continue, it's really just like, yeah, like it's a feeling of knowing what your parents want, but you like, I don't want, but okay, I think I know they want this. So through that experience, it really like pushed me to still do it, and I realized along the way, then I realized that God's mission for me was changed, not like last time where God wants me to use my gift in worship leading, my gift in teaching, to share love to people through that means. But God told me that His mission for me was really to be present, support Toby, and help others whenever there's an area of need. So that's really how, sometimes we look for things that are very tangible, or is it play guitar, or is it gift teaching, but actually at that time God's mission for me was just be present and support others who are in need of help. And that's where I realized that it's not about like doing all the activities, but how God just want me to say yes to the will of to His will. And in that decision, I realized that's really the decision that helped me to be more patient and to be more loving to others, even to Toby himself, because if you are in the same core team, sometimes there are greater tendency to just get angry. But through that experience, actually God trained me to be more loving, and I only now then I look back, then I realize that that's the fruit of how when I answer God's calling. Okay, never mind. Okay. So you can listen later. So never stop saying yes to the will of God. And also, one of the other ways is that when we say yes to something, there's also a need to say no to other things. So for Samuel, he was feeling the fear. He has this fear, but he decided to detach himself from the fear and still carry out that mission. To share God's message to Eli. And even for me too, a lot of worries, like a lot of like, will I have enough time? Will I have the strength to balance everything? And what will happen? Or should I actually explore something outside? And somehow, as I learned to detach, then for me, I realized the fruit of what He wants me to do. So, so that's actually how we realized that God gave us identity as His children, and He called us to share His love, to be His agent for love, to be His witnesses for Christ, starting through community. And right now, I want to invite someone to share her testimony also of how she has been able to discover God's mission for her in this community, and also how she persevered throughout her life to finally arrive until.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Reta. For those who don't know me, my name is also Reta. So, I'm here to share a bit of what my mission and how I respond to God's calling in this community. So to start with, if you know me from the first time I joined Emmaus like 7 years ago, you must have known me as someone who's very quiet, very shy, always stand in the corner of the room during the fellowship, and I don't even dare to talk to people. It's always a struggle for me to make conversation with people. Somehow at the time there is nobody who is my age, so everyone like already working adult, and it's very difficult for me to connect with people. So it's very struggle for me to just come to Emmaus. And along the way, I also realized that I don't have any gift actually. Like I don't like to talk to people, I can't really play music, I don't have any knowledge in Bible, theology or whatsoever. And there's one time when I also do the quiz of gift, like what we did with Vina 2 weeks ago. And at that time, I realized that my score was very low. Like maybe everything is like only